Tonight, we are comparing two cities that could not feel more different after dark. On one side, Istanbul. Crowded streets, late nights, non-stop energy. On the other, Stockholm, Sweden. Clean nightlife districts, carefully regulated bars, and a calmer atmosphere. We are not showing random walking videos. We are analyzing two cities, how people socialize, how nightlife operates, and what the streets actually look like after sunset. By the end of this video, you might be surprised which city feels more alive at night. This quick montage shows the contrast between nightlife energy across cities, calm streets in Scandinavia, and vibrant crowds in Istanbul. Part 1. Stockholm Nightlife. Stockholm nightlife is controlled and highly organized. Bars close earlier than most major cities. Alcohol sales follow strict licensing rules. Large crowds are rare except on weekends. The city feels calm even when people socialize. Shouting, chaotic traffic, and street parties are uncommon. People gather indoors rather than outdoors. You see cozy bars, seated conversations, and quiet music instead of loud street scenes. Despite being a capital city, Stockholm nights prioritize order over excitement. Part 2. Istanbul Nightlife. Istanbul after dark is immediate chaos, in a good way. Streets overflow with people. Restaurants stay open until dawn. Music spills out onto sidewalks. Food vendors, street performers, taxis, crowds. Everything moves at once. Conversations happen outside. People drink tea on the streets, not just inside bars. In Istanbul, nightlife spills into public space, not behind closed doors. Part 3. Social energy comparison. Social culture creates the biggest difference. In Stockholm, nightlife is private. Friends reserve tables and stay inside. Large, spontaneous groups are rare. In contrast, Istanbul nightlife is public. People wander randomly. They meet strangers on sidewalks. The street itself becomes the social center. Population density also changes energy. Istanbul hosts over 15 million residents. Stockholm has just 1 million. That difference alone transforms the night atmosphere. This is a quick check. Are you listening to what I am saying here? Or are you too focused on watching the beautiful scenes of the world? Part 4. Safety and policing. Stockholm nights feel safe but monitored. Police patrol bar districts. Security guards manage entrances. In Istanbul, police visibility is lighter, but crowds create natural security. Safety often comes from numbers rather than enforcement. Both cities are statistically safe for visitors. The difference lies in atmosphere. Quiet regulation versus organic crowd control. Part 5. Sound and movement. Sound levels remain low in Stockholm. The city plans night areas away from residential blocks. In Istanbul, there is no real separation. Music, voices, traffic, and laughter mix into a constant soundscape. Noise is part of nightlife identity here. Part 6. Final verdict. Stockholm nightlife feels clean, organized, predictable. Istanbul nightlife feels chaotic, colorful, unstoppable. One offers comfort and calm. The other offers unpredictability and energy. Neither is better objectively. They simply offer different experiences. If you prefer quiet conversations and controlled environments, Stockholm wins. If you crave movement, street life, and non-stop sensory energy, Istanbul dominates the night. Cities reveal their true personality after dark. And whichever city you prefer says a lot about what kind of night you enjoy. Which nightlife would you choose? Tell us in the comments. Stockholm or Istanbul? We are done comparing our two cities. Now comes something unexpected for history fans. Let us talk about how Swedish meatballs actually made their journey from Istanbul to Sweden. Relax. The visuals will stay beautiful, not delicious. Most people believe Swedish meatballs are a purely Scandinavian creation. They imagine snowy kitchens, wooden cottages, and recipes passed down for centuries inside Sweden. But the true story actually begins far away from Scandinavia, in Istanbul. In the early 1700s, Sweden was ruled by King Charles XII, known in Swedish history as Karl XII. In 1709, after a devastating defeat against the Russian Empire at the Battle of Poltava, the young king fled with a small group of soldiers and advisors. Instead of returning home, Charles traveled south and sought refuge in the Ottoman Empire, which was one of Europe's major powers at the time. And so, fate placed a Swedish king directly into the heart of Istanbul. Charles spent nearly 5 years living under Ottoman protection near Istanbul, in the town of Bender, which today lies in modern Moldova but was controlled by the Ottomans. During this period, the king and his court were introduced to Ottoman culinary traditions, rich spices, open-fire cooking, and meat dishes unlike anything seen in Sweden. One meal in particular caught their attention: köfte, seasoned meatballs shaped by hand and cooked over fire. Ottoman köfte was not a luxury food. It was a practical dish, simple to prepare, easy to transport, and perfect for feeding busy markets and traveling soldiers. Exactly the kind of meal a displaced royal court would rely on while living far from home. Swedish visitors observed the cooking methods carefully. Local chefs rolled minced meat with onion and spices, formed the balls by hand, and cooked them quickly over heat. The process was efficient, flavorful, and adaptable. Charles's entourage took notes, literally, writing down recipes and techniques unfamiliar to northern kitchens. For Swedes accustomed to boiled meats and basic seasoning, Ottoman food was a revelation. This period became one of the earliest culinary exchanges between Sweden and the Near East. When Charles finally returned to Sweden around 1715, he did not come home empty-handed. Along with scientific instruments, fabrics, and diplomatic gifts, he brought something far more lasting. He brought new cooking techniques. Among them was the method of preparing spiced ground meat shaped into small, round portions. A direct inspiration from Ottoman köfte, Swedish cooks adapted the idea to local tastes. They used beef and pork instead of lamb. The heavy spices were reduced. Cream was added for richness, and the meatballs became milder in flavor, suited to Nordic palates. What emerged was something new. Not Ottoman köfte, not traditional Scandinavian fare, but a cultural fusion. Over time, Swedish meatballs became a household staple. They were easy to prepare in cold winters. They fit well with potatoes, gravy, and lingonberry sauce. By the mid-1800s, they were appearing in cookbooks as a uniquely Swedish dish. Yet their deeper origins faded from public memory. The centuries passed. The story became simplified. Meatballs were Swedish. End of story. Only much later did historians and culinary researchers revisit the trail. Royal archives confirmed King Charles' extended stay under Ottoman protection. Travel journals mentioned unfamiliar dishes encountered in Istanbul and Ottoman territories. Cooking manuscripts showed the appearance of foreign meatball techniques shortly after the king's return. The puzzle pieces fit. The beloved symbol of Swedish cuisine likely began its journey thousands of kilometers south, in the kitchens of the Ottoman world. This story reveals something powerful. food travels even when borders remain closed. Wars displace kings and soldiers. Trade moves spices and methods. And over time, cultures quietly blend, not through conquest, but through shared meals. Modern Swedish meatballs are not proof of national invention. They are proof of cultural exchange, a reminder that even iconic traditions sometimes come from unexpected places. So the next time you see Swedish meatballs on a menu, remember this invisible journey. From Ottoman chefs shaping köfte by open flame, to a wandering Swedish king taking notes, to Nordic cooks adapting the recipe for snowy kitchens. From Istanbul to Stockholm, one small meatball carried centuries of history across continents. Final line for segue back to video. History crosses borders more easily than we expect. And sometimes, the smallest dishes carry the longest journeys. Stay safe, subscribe for more comparison videos, and we will see you in the next one.